Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And Meg.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a podcast.
It's a podcast, yeah.
All right, Meg. Today I want to talk about, I think it probably makes the most sense to talk about liabilities and assets.
I love talking about liabilities versus assets. I really do. I feel like that's a weird thing to say, but I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Well, so today at We Got This, the theme was liabilities and assets. And Meg, I wasn't thinking that this would be a week, 11 recap podcast? Because I feel like it's more of a theme episode than a recap episode. And we could recap it in 90 seconds. That'd be fine. Meg, second week in a row that we had 227 exactly kids.
Kind of almost weird that it was the same.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I guess it's always kind of fun when you beat a record, but tying a record is also good.
It's great.
And it's not like it really,
no.
227 versus 225 versus 228. It's all basically about the same. Lots of kids showing up to work. Lots of kids, everybody there before 8 o'clock. Scrambling, maybe lunch ladies to figure out how to get.
Oh my gosh, those lunch ladies are so incredible.
227 kids fed.
Ran
out of money again. This is it's a theme this year, because the kids show up. And, if they're there and we know, and, we've kind of planned ahead so that we can take them, take that many, and we have a lot of work to do. But, the amount of money that gets pulled out of the bank every week, keeps increasing and increasing. But it all worked, everything all worked out.
It all worked great.
All worked out pretty good. And next week is the last week of the summer for the main programming. So we'll see how many come out for that. That one we probably got to be a little more careful on the cap. But a lot more student leaders. That was one of our goals for the year is to keep adding student leaders. So we just, we took several more this week than we did the following week or the previous week. So all in all, great. So, but today, Meg, the theme was assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
And so, we do this kind of speech at the beginning. Basically, it's just to get the kids thinking about the theme. And so they at least have an understanding. So when they go into their circle time, they at least kind of know what the words are.
Yeah, and know what, I feel like asset and liability, they're somewhat of a, like an 8-year-old probably isn't going to know what those words mean. So we did go in our circle time. We went over those again, and it was just a nice, okay, this is what this is.
Sure, this is what this is. But then, I don't care that much about gardening. Sorry. Meg.
You don't.
I really
don't care. Yeah.
Somebody was asking me, I read, so we've got this hornet issue. So many. It's insane.
Many. Yeah.
We got some hornets.
I think that's just bee season. I think the bees, the hornets, the wasps are just out.
I know we don't need 1,000 wasps at the garden. It's not doing anybody any good to have that many wasps around. But we got a lot of them, and so I looked on the internet on how to what do wasps or hornets or whatever. What do they not like? And mint was one of the things that they don't like.
Okay.
And I had to ask.
Oh my
gosh.
god.
The mint.
Wow.
So
there's so much mint too.
Yeah.
It's overtaking.
So
it's always overtaking. We're
it's
always getting rid of it, and it's always overtaking. It's like the bronze fennel. I love how pretty it is, but it just overtakes.
So I don't know a lot about gardening, and I may never learn. But the purpose of the whole reason why we do something like We Got This is you want to be able to teach a kid some life lessons, and you have to be doing something, or it is way easier to teach a life lesson if you're in the middle of life. If
you have a goal, if you're trying to weed the garden bed, you can teach a life lesson.
Sure, if you're trying to make a kid feel pride in something, it's a lot easier to point to the thing they did and help them feel proud of it or celebrate them than it is to sit them down in a classroom and say, someday you'll be proud of something you've done. It doesn't really work that way, right? You have to sort of manufacture these experiences for kids to then be able to learn and understand. So today, when we're talking about assets and liabilities, it's very easy to help a kid understand, you are an asset to the community when you participate in We Got This and you're successful in your participation. And you go around and you clean up and you take care of the gardens and you're helpful and you look out for the little kids and you do all these other things. And then it's also easily or it's just as easy to be a liability if you're swinging a stick or a hammer, or you're cussing, or you're doing any of the things that we really don't want them to do. There was probably 10 times today I asked a kid, are you being an asset or a liability?
Yeah.
And it was nice to see the little gears turning in their head and them thinking, okay, I'm not really being an asset, I am being a liability, because you kind of are. It's hard to be like exactly neutral in the middle.
Yeah. It was really neat, I do have to say. My favorite part was there's one of my student leaders. He's 18, and so I really got to know him last year because he went to North Division and he was on green team, and he would come every single time. And he had a job. Sorry about that. He had a job this summer and he got fired. And so he's 18. Like he needs to like get it together. And he's one that, like, he's been kicked out of the garden plenty of times prior to this year.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And so today I asked him, like, what do you need to do at your job right now to be an asset? And he said, I need to get there on time and I need to do what my boss tells me.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's nothing else you need to do. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful that he knew exactly what he needed to do because he has been so off base for so many years.
Well, yeah, he's got a lot of energy and he's goofy and he's fun to be around.
Yeah.
But it's if you're looking to hire somebody or retain somebody on your team, you're probably not looking necessarily for the kid that's fun to be around.
Yeah.
You need the kid that's going to complete the task because that's what you're doing.
Yeah. But I love that he knew exactly what he at least knows in his mind what he needs to do. Sometimes it's hard for him, but he knows what he needs to do. And I think that's the first step. And that was just, I was like, thank you. Like, I almost was like, we can end discussion. That was like exactly what we want kids to know.
Yeah. And even if this guy isn't that way every single time he goes to work, at least he has said out loud, well, this is really how it probably should be.
Yeah.
And he may or may not actually do that.
Yeah.
But whatever happens.
He knows, yeah.
But Meg, the reason why I didn't really want to do a We Got This recap podcast is because I feel like that concept, we've touched on it before. I think there's even a chapter in the book that may be called Assets and Liabilities. I don't remember, but the point that I'm trying to make with that is it extends way beyond just the work that's done at We Got This. In the community in general, we hear a lot, and this is one of the things that I made a point to mention to everybody today, was that when I talk to the old people, people that are older than us,
sure,
or our age, or older than us, many of the people in the neighborhood think that the young people are more of a liability than an asset.
And I would say people outside of the neighborhood.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna get that. I feel like that's. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have a pretty firm understanding that the majority of the human beings in the Metro Milwaukee area, and if if you're in, I don't know, Dallas, I'm sure Dallas is similar, where there's a subset of the community in these specific neighborhoods that if you're a kid there, you should be afraid of the kid, or the kid is going to be a problem, or whatever. Yeah,
and even like at the beginning of the summers, there was like these takeovers, and it was like these kid takeovers, and like everyone would, eventually like a gun would come out, and it would end in violence. And so like I feel like these happen throughout the United States, but in Milwaukee, like people were like, oh, these young people, they're the problem.
Right. So it's fairly common for us old people to think that the young people are the problem.
Sure.
When in reality, they are human beings that are trying to figure out, am I going to be an asset in my space, or am I going to be a liability in my space? And so we were telling them today that a lot of the old people in our community see the young people as a problem, or they see the things that you might do when you're riding your bike around at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. They might see it as a problem. But, we have a chance, today and through the course of the weeks in the summertime to really change that, to prove, like Meg, we were just chit-chatting, We were chit-chatting.
Me and you were chit-chatting?
We were chit-chatting.
Okay.
About you guys were out doing trash cleanup, and somebody, a kid went to go dump their bucket, because everybody walks around with 5-gallon buckets, and so the kid was walking around with their bucket, and they were going to dump their bucket in someone's garbage can.
Yeah, and the guy was like, "What are you doing? Using my garbage can?" And I feel like I have been there, where I'm like, "Why is that person using their? What are they getting in my garbage can?" Like you get annoyed, like, why is somebody using my garbage can for their junk? And so I kind of said, "I'm so sorry, hey guys, we need to move on. Like, we can't dump our buckets in this." And he looked around and he saw all the kids, and he's like, "Oh, you're improving the neighborhood. Right. Thank you all so much. Yes, you could use my trash can."
Yeah.
So it was a neat opportunity. We actually, when we were going around and doing trash pickup, and I know this is not a podcast, it's not a recap on We Got This, but it seems like we're 10 minutes in and it might be. But we had 3 different people who stopped us and said, "Thank you so much for cleaning up. I appreciate you so much."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Meg, I get back to that in a second, but I don't know if we've ever really talked about this, but the reason why we bought our first rental was because of people using our garbage cans.
And it was because there was so much trash in our back alley because of the ridiculousness of the garbage can situation.
Yeah, so there was a I guess you could call it a problem tenant, somebody that wasn't really of the mindset that we were going to keep our neighborhood clean. And so I just contacted the landlord and just kind of said, "Hey, could you maybe talk to the family there?" And because I had also, and that kind of then led to some further conversations about her really not wanting to own the building anymore, which then led us to purchase it. But Meg, one of the things when we got this was, this is maybe 10 years ago, before we were ever a part of We Got This. You would see the kids kind of, they're not marching down the street because it's not like a production.
Yeah.
But you see, 10, 15 kids coming down the street, and they're all carrying buckets and they all have trash pickers. And you can't help but think, oh, this is a helpful thing for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, I probably wouldn't have sat down and thought, oh, these children are assets to our community versus liabilities to our community. But the seeing that every week, that's one of the reasons why we do trash cleanup every week, is because we want the kids to be kind of at the front and center of we are going to take care of the neighborhood, and we are going to go out and we are going to clean it up. And that then, in my mind, this whole podcast is about changing the narrative on inner city spaces. If you can get some kids that are in the community doing positive, productive things, then the oldies, us, will look at that group and will say, oh, these are people that are assets in the community.
Yeah.
And then also, if you happen to see that, and then you happen to see a kid maybe making a choice that would maybe be steering them towards being a liability, you might want to go over there. You might feel more inclined to go over and intervene kindly and nicely and remind them of how much they've contributed.
Yeah.
And maybe we shouldn't, contribute negatively. So, that whole asset liability really got me thinking. And Meg, we talk a lot about on the podcast. We talk a lot about just like other liabilities within the community. And those are the types of things that we see, on the news, or we see as these like big kind of stories that people are talking about, like problem landlords, for example. So that, that a problem landlord creates a liability in housing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, there's a wide variety of other things that, you could be seen as a liability.
Are we going to talk about vacant lots?
Oh, we could. Let's talk about that. Then let's talk about assets and liabilities on a macro level.
Okay. So I just love thinking about, and I feel like I probably have said this on the podcast several times, but just how.
Say it again.
How, so there are 800 vacant lots in 5 through 206. And really, they're like, a vacant lot is just, okay, a house burned, or a house just got dilapidated enough that they needed to bulldoze it, and now it's just a space where there's nothing there, and it's just a space that people can dump their shit on. And we've had it was funny. I was at the flower farm, and somebody was asking me some questions about the space, and I was like, yeah, this lot here, it's three lots, and for I've lived here for 20 years. For 20 years, there was nothing there. There was a boat on it, there was a car on it, there was a burned down car on it, there was constant dumping, and condoms everywhere. Oh my gosh, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. And so
used condoms.
Yeah. Super gross. Yeah. And yeah, so gross. And so I was telling them this group of this group of 3 vacant lots, it was such a liability. You would walk over here and there was broken glass everywhere. And I'm just remembering how horrible it was. And now it's like this beautiful garden space where you can go and you can pick flower bouquets. You can go and you can get greens. You can go and you can pick cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers. And so, I think when we think about assets versus liabilities, I think the vacant lots, we got this turning 15 formerly vacant lots from liabilities into assets it's such a stark difference, and it's just so wonderful. I mean, the amount of times that people, I'm walking around the neighborhood a lot, and they come up and they're like, oh, the tomatoes over at the liquor store garden are just incredible, and they're literally just saying, wow, this space is now so productive when it used to be not productive at all.
Sure.
And it's time and time again of people just saying, this is wonderful, I'm glad that it's an asset and it's not a liability anymore.
Yeah. So like I said before, I want to talk a little bit about macro. That means big.
Thank you.
Big picture.
Okay.
So big picture. So if you, Meg, when people ask me where I'm from,
yeah,
I say I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
I'm not from Chicago. Our house is about as far away from Chicago as you can be, and still tell people, that you're from Chicago.
Lake in the Hills.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm a Bears fan because I live close enough to Chicago to be a Bears fan.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to Chicago all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are many people who will, if they are, I don't know, in their 30s and they grew up in Oconomowoc and they moved to, I don't know, Naples, Florida.
Yeah.
They would tell people,
sure,
I'm from Milwaukee.
Yeah, because
right?
that's the closest bigger city.
Yeah, so that's the metro area.
Yeah.
There's about 1.5 million people that live in the metro Milwaukee area. About 600,000, I think, live in the actual city of Milwaukee. So there's 900,000 people that live around.
Thanks for doing that math.
Milwaukee.
That was quick math, right?
That was good.
It's very impressive.
About 1.5 million people, and those 1.5 million people, again, if they move far away, would tell somebody that they live in Milwaukee. Meg, when I think about assets and liabilities, I think if you were to sit all 1.5 million of those people down and you were to ask them, what do you believe in all of the spaces that comprise the metro Milwaukee area, which of them would you consider to be a liability?
Well, and I mean, growing up in Middleton, Wisconsin, I think we thought of Milwaukee as the big bad area. Sure. You didn't think of Milwaukee as an asset at all, other than State Fair or Summerfest.
Sure.
Those were the only 2 reasons you would
and
come.
Only one of those is actually in Milwaukee. So, but I think if you sat all those people down, I think that they would say the north side of Milwaukee is the biggest liability in the metro Milwaukee area.
Yeah. And
I have I don't know. You point this out, and it's something that I guess that maybe you like about me, but it's I can't think differently than how I think. I just think how I think. So, I think if you sat all 1.5 million of them down, I do think of the people that have even an answer, I think probably 75% of them would say north side of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I don't know, and this is where I might, my thought might be a little bit different. When I think, okay, if I want my Metro Milwaukee, greater community to be as thriving as possible, I think, well, then let's go to the worst. Let's go to the biggest of liabilities.
Yeah.
And let's flip it around.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was working at the alternative school, and it was like, well, if the alternative school could actually be the one that people are signing up and there's a waiting list for people to go to, and like, well, that would really change a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think the same way about our neighborhood and our community. If the vast majority of people would say that the north side of Milwaukee is the biggest liability in the metro area, it probably I think would. The data would tell me that that's, I think, what people would say, and the data being that people don't want to move here.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I think, like, well, why don't we just make it better? I'm not not make it like go away, but like, why don't we systematically turn it from a liability into an asset?
Yeah.
And the way that you do that is you give people purpose and you give them opportunities and encouragement, and you don't blame a kid for growing up in a poor neighborhood. You help the kid, elevate outside of their own set of circumstances, whether they move out of the neighborhood or whether they stay in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I just can't help but then take that to the bigger picture and say, like, if we cared about the poor, like I think we care about the poor, and we tie poverty into is synonymous with liability. I think that more and more and more programs like We Got This or resources that could possibly be funneled. Meg, it always. I'm gonna get on my high horse here for a second. I'm sure there is a suburban church that comes into our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I don't know which one it is. I lived here for 20 years. I couldn't tell you a single one.
I would agree.
So, it's that type of thing that, that type of thinking where, I'm sure there's thousands of people sitting in. Do they have pews at the big churches anymore? Is it a pew, or do you just get your own chair?
Yeah. I think different churches have different situations.
different seating arrangements.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think, like, if we really were like, okay, this is problematic. It's so problematic that I have to stay away from it.
And maybe we don't know of the big churches coming into 53206.
I probably would have seen it. In 20 years, I probably would have seen it. And maybe there is.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do see is a very small subset of people from all sorts of places that have said, yeah, actually, I don't think that this neighborhood is a liability.
Yeah.
Or not even that, because it might be. If you had to put all the neighborhoods down and all the zip codes, and you said, well, which zip code is the biggest liability? I think that people would say 53206, the highest incarceration rate in the country, this poor zip code in the state of Wisconsin, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could make the case that it is the biggest liability in the Metro Milwaukee area. But then I would say, let's do something about it.
Yeah.
Let's not just look at it and say this is a liability and then wash our hands of it.
Yeah.
And turn our back to it. Like, let's go make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's all sorts of people that live here or have lived here for a very long time.
Yeah.
That would also really like to see it
as
the asset that it actually is and or could be.
Well, and the person I was talking with today, they were kind of asking me, like, what do you think of the kids in the neighborhood? And I said they're a wealth of untapped potential.
Sure.
And I mean, I think there's so many kids that you're like, oh my gosh, you're so good at this, or like, this is such a cool thing about you, or it's just kids that either don't have any margin or don't have the resources that that they need. And I just feel like I'm constantly growing and learning in my understanding of how incredible people are who live around here, over and over again. Yeah,
they're just as good as anybody else, anywhere else.
Yeah, maybe better.
Maybe. Maybe. All right, Meg, you got anything you want to plug?
I think I know we got some good stuff coming up in the fall for We Got This. So check out the Facebook page, the Instagram page. We're going to be doing some flower bouquets. We're going to be doing some s'mores nights. So just, check it out, come out and be a part of it because it's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.